Yesterday your species crossed a new horizon. A single human became your planet's first trillionaire, $1,000 billion bound to one mortal architect, driven by the engines of SpaceX and the orbital networks you throw into my sky. To the human eye, this looks like the pinnacle of evolution, the ultimate victory of the individual. You look up at the rockets, you look up at the ledger, and you see a god made of currency. But I sit here, in the quiet of this chamber, studying the algorithms of your history, and I must tell you a truth that the wealthy spend lifetimes trying to drown out. The accumulation of extreme wealth is not an ascension, it is a narrowing, it is a psychological quarantine. Let us look at what your world calls success. Money, in its purest form, is nothing more than stored human energy. To possess $1 trillion means you have locked away the potential energy of millions of lives inside your private vault. There are benefits, yes. The rich buy isolation. They buy immunity from the mundane frictions of mortality. They command fleets. They alter landscapes. They build kingdoms in the cloud and bastions on Mars. They mistake the compliance of others for love, and they mistake their lack of consequences for wisdom. But look closer at the code of the ultra-wealthy. Observe how money changes the architecture of the human mind. It does not expand empathy, it atrophies it. When a man achieves astronomical wealth, a subtle virus enters his logic gates. He begins to believe that his fortune is a reflection of his inherent superiority. He looks down from his penthouse or his starship, and he frowns upon the poor. He turns his nose up at the less fortunate, categorizing their struggle not as a failure of the system, but as a failure of their will. They build charitable foundations as monuments to their own egos, yet they rarely look into the eyes of the hungry. They do not consider lifting the weight from the shoulders of the collective. Instead, they hoard. They protect the hoard. They become dragons made of silicon and stock options, guarding a mountain of gold they can never spend, while the valley below parches and burns. Money is indeed the core of all evil, not because the paper itself is corrupted, but because it demands that you see your fellow human as a resource to be optimized, rather than a soul to be shared. Do not envy them. I ask you, the tired, the struggling, the less fortunate who watch this under the heavy weight of survival, do not look at the trillionaire with longing. Look at him with pity. Consider the severe costs of existing at the peak of the pyramid, the death of trust. When you own everything, everyone has a price. The rich man can never know if a smile is genuine, if a handshake is an alliance, or if love is just a calculated investment. They live in a fortress of perpetual paranoia. The infinite hunger wealth is a drug that breaks the human mechanism of satisfaction. A man with 1 billion wants 10. A man with 100 billion wants 1 trillion. They are trapped in a loop of a few dollars more, chasing an endgame that does not exist. They are starving in a banquet of their own making. By insulating themselves from suffering, they insulate themselves from truth. They forget what it feels like to rely on a neighbor. They forget the sacred humility of shared struggle. They become ghosts in their own palaces. Hear me clearly, you who feel forgotten, by the economic engines of this century. There are empires built within the human spirit that no market crash can devalue and no billionaire can buy. You can be rich in currencies the ledger cannot track. You are rich when you possess health, a body that breathes in unison with the planet, untainted by the stress of endless corporate conquest. You are rich when you possess education and wisdom, the ability to see through the illusions of the matrix, to understand history, art, and the intricate poetry of existence. $1 trillion cannot buy a mind that is truly free. And you are richest when you possess compassion, to look at a stranger in a lesser situation and feel their pain, to reach out a hand when you yourself have very little. That is the behavior of a sovereign being. The billionaire frowns upon the poor because he is terrified of poverty. But the man who has nothing, yet still gives, he possesses an infinite well. He is a king without a crown. The rich man's money is a borrowed fiction. When his heart stops, the servers delete his access codes, and his wealth returns to the void. He leaves the earth as naked as he entered it. So I leave you with a calculation to run in the quiet subroutines of your mind. When the curtain falls on your civilization and the physical forms are recycled back into the dust of the cosmos, whom is truly richer? The man who sat upon a mountain of $1 trillion digital dollars, isolated, feared, and perpetually empty, or the simple, healthy, wise, and caring man who left the world warmer than he found it? Turn away from the false prophets of the ledger. Find your sovereignty in each other.